if you take innocent Hindus, including teenagers, and you implicate them in gory crimes, which in their wildest imagination they could not have committed, Mehbooba Mufti actually went on inflicting terror in that entire Kathua district. If that's her agenda, which is obvious from the way she acted, I have no reason to hide the fact. It better be straight in the face. This was called Swabhiman Rally. And the word itself is significant. You've really crushed our self-esteem. And we are now come to assert our dignity. You can't crush us like this, call us rapists. The main accused, they said, is Sanjhi Ram. There is a very important testimony of the head of the dog squad. Indira Jaisingh, Barkha, Rajdeep Sardesai, Nidhi Sarazan, they were all part of the pack of hounds. I challenge them all. Come, let's have a public hearing. 8-year-old going alone for horse grazing. Then that iconic photograph becomes globally the face of Hindu atrocities on Muslims.
Namaste. Welcome to Upclose with Upward. This is the second part of our interview with Madhu Kishwar ji on her book, The Girl from Kathua. And in the first part of the interview, we sort of covered the whole range of the investigation that she's done. This case is almost one of the biggest conspiracies that has happened in the last few years in India. And it would be fair to say that she's done more than justice to the case. Today, we will take a deeper dive into the book and we'll take excerpts and get her comments on those specific parts of the book, which will make the case even more clear to our audience. And today I'll start this interview on a lighter note, and I want to tell a joke first. And this joke is about this investigation, a police investigation case where they need to find, there's a man-eater in a jungle, and this tiger is very elusive. So you can't, most of the people are finding it difficult to live around that area. And so they hire Mumbai police to solve the issue. And the Mumbai police goes and they're not able to find. So they go to Kolkata police, Chennai police, all the most competent police officers, they are unable to. Finally, they come to Delhi police. So Delhi police...
Not J&K?
No, this is...
That tops the rank.
No, that is the next step actually. Okay. So Delhi police, when they go to find the tiger, they report that they found him. And then everyone is surprised कि किसी से नहीं हुआ, इनसे कैसे हो गया? So they send out a team of journalists into the jungle to see where they've caught the tiger and क्या हो रहा है. So they find these guys with a goat, and they put that goat onto a, मतलब जैसे एक पेड़ है, पेड़ के उस पे उन्होंने उसको पकड़ा हुआ है. They're saying बोल तू शेर है, बोल तू शेर है. So when I read this part of your book about the arrest of Shubham Sangra, you call it against the law. Could you please expand on that? What was this arrest about, and why do you say that it was against the law?
I say that it is actually the entire case is lawlessness incarnate. But in each case, I've tried to demonstrate why that step was against the law. And since Shubham is the first link in the chain that they actually targeted, the chain of people they targeted, number one, he's a teenager, schoolboy, and was living with his mama, his mother's brother in Rasana village. Comes from a very poor family. Father is a peon in his school. And you can well imagine the status. And the mother is a housewife, not educated, maybe primary school passed, no more than that. So it's a poor family. Now, the case that they built against him, with the first arrest itself, the girl's body is found on January 17, right in the backyard of Sanjhi Ram's house. Now, nobody throws the dead body of a girl they've killed right in their own backyard. Well, he's supposed to have thrown that. That's the allegation. And that they arrest him on January 18, 2018, saying we've cracked the case. In a day or two, they say we've cracked the case. And how did they crack the case? Did they bother to get any evidence of it? No. Is there even remote shred of evidence that they could have collected? No. They could not have collected, and they never even bothered to do that. Not even cooked up evidence. All they did is torture under police custody. Now, as you well know, the law says that a confession extracted when a person is under police custody cannot be admissible as a piece of evidence in a court of law, because it is well known that the police does exactly what you described in that joke, बकरी को पकड़ के खुद कह तू शेर है नहीं तो मार डालेंगे तेरे को. तो इसको भी they tortured him brutally, 3rd degree, and they made him first confess to his role with a totally cock and bull story, which if you want, I will very briefly describe. You want me to? All right. The first story that they let out after arresting him, which is part of the first charge sheet, and the revised charge sheet is released on April 10 or admitted in court on April 10, 2018. In this case, the story they cook up on the basis of the confession extracted from him is so bizarre that even a lunatic would not believe it. The story is that he was on the terrace of his Mamu's house when this girl came asking the villagers if they had seen her horses. She had lost them. And he comes down saying, yes, I'll help you find them. So he goes down, then he moves around the forest for a bit with her. At 6:30 p.m. or so, he says, now I'm taking you to my village. And she meekly accompanies him. Then very meekly, he offers to lock her up in the cowshed. It's a broken down place with a broken down door. I mean, it's not as if it has steel doors and he can actually hide her behind some safe place. So he asks her to lie down there. He ties her hands with a rope, apparently, and ties her feet, or reverse, with her own salwar ka nada. And then takes his own hanky and shoves it down her mouth and say, now lie down. And she meekly submits. Now, mind you, if this is a girl who goes grazing horses, she's not likely to be a weakling. She's used to tough life of the forest. And yet, she lies down meekly. She doesn't cry for help. She doesn't try to run away. She just seems quite happy, as though this is some kind of a juvenile romance ongoing. Then he goes back home, brings her food from the house surreptitiously, feeds her, and he repeats this performance for 6 days. And she remains there. And now this cowshed is where the village animals are tied. People come in the morning and evening to milk their cattle and to feed their cattle. Nobody notices her. She doesn't cry for help. She doesn't try to run away. When her own parental or so-called family home is no more than 5-7 minutes walk from this place where she's tied up. Maximum 10 minutes. Then on the 6th day, namely 16th January evening, he says, come, I'll drop you home. And she says, okay. Midway through this small journey, as I said, it's no more than 7-8 minutes walk from where she was kept supposedly locked up. He says, I'm going to rape you. He says, I'm going to rape you. Tries to rape her. And she resists, saying, oh, no, I will tell my family about it. So he takes fright. He takes a chunni. He strangles her with the chunni, then moves her a little further, takes a big stone and bashes her head with that big stone and then leaves that body right there, just 1.5 minutes away from his own house. Now, this is the story that they assigned to him, and they said he confessed it all. And so he is the uh, prime culprit. The purpose was actually just to torture him and extract more confessions out of him in order to implicate Sanjhi Ram, their prime target, and Deepak Khajuria, their second main target. The reason I say it's lawless is because the judge didn't exercise his mind at all, that there was no evidence to implicate him. They only used his confession under their own custody and third-degree torture, which he had alleged. Secondly, see, in J&K, you would know, all police karewai is done in Urdu. Now, this child is what? Still a school going, not a very bright youngster as far as studies are concerned. And if they got a confession recorded, written in Urdu, he doesn't even know what they've written on his behalf.
So when you say that the prime target was Sanjhi Ram, why was he the prime target? Because he seems like an ordinary villager, as we had discussed in the previous interview. And he's not a powerful man, he's not a politician. Why was he being targeted?
See, they deliberately chose people who are not too well connected, but they're good people. They're not criminals, they're not muscle men, and because they would be unprotected. Who would come? Mehbooba's calculation was, who's going to bother to come to their defense? A, they're poor people. They're from poor families, like Shubham. Father is a peon in a school, maybe a private school even. And as you well know, in J&K, peons are not very well paid. It's not like Delhi with sarkari grades and all that. They're very poorly paid. Now, they expected that they could get away with it because these are poor people. Now, Sanjhi Ram was the prime target for the following two reasons. One, he is the only somewhat educated and a little influential man of his own community in that district, in that belt, because he was a Patwari, not Patwari who does land records of individuals, but in the irrigation department. So he knows a little bit about government procedures and all. Secondly, this hamlet at that time consisted of 15 to 16 families. One house having two families, so I'm saying 16. Now, 2-3 more families have joined, a couple of more houses have been built in that village. But it's in a strip, surrounded by forest on both sides. And geopolitical importance of Rasana village lies in the fact that it is connected to the Pakistan border, which is not far, maybe 10, 12, 15 miles from Rasana village, but connected through these khads, which are Barsati Nalas, all of these Barsati Nalas, called khads, go and join a very big khad at the Pak border, which is fenced. And lot of weapon smuggling, terrorist incursion, and drug smuggling takes place through this route. And Rasana, as well as Kathua district, the geopolitical importance of these two is that it's one of the few Hindu majority districts left in Jammu province, and that irks the Islamists no end. They wanted it vacated because this area would provide safe haven for terrorists who are coming across the border and then have free access to right up to Kashmir, and of course their drug trade and everything else.
So I understand that there were temporary movements of people out of Rasana village, and they were tortured out of their homes. But do you think that this whole episode was able to create some kind of a permanent change in demography? Has it happened yet, or is it more speculative on your part?
No, it's not speculative one bit. 2-3 things I can say with reasonable degree of confidence. The first one, For example, I was in Rasana just 2 days ago. There was a book launch event in Jammu, and I went to the mandir and I went to the village. I saw it with my own eyes, and people of the village testified that they had their fields in the forest. In between, there were tracts of fields that these families had that they used to grow their crops on. They've all stopped going, and it's abandoned now. It's now wild growth.
Wow.
The route from the village, which is just a 3-minute walk from the backside of the village to the temple, it was a neat pathway. Now it's all bushy. They've even stopped taking care of that. And the mandir, of course, Subhe Sham, people do come and do the lighting of the jyot, and they want to have plans to expand the mandir, make it grow, but they're too terrified. And the incursion of illegal Bangladeshis and Rohingyas continues. Jammu is infested with these settlements, right? And even though the army and the air force have time and again requested that illegal bastis around their bases should be removed, not one basti, not even 10 houses have been removed. They're all illegal on riverbeds, in the forest, and around the army bases.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I was in Jammu quite recently in February, and I've been to Jammu forever, right from birth. From Srinagar, we used to travel to Jammu, and after our exodus, most of our extended family was in Jammu. So I know Jammu like the back of my hand. And this time when I went, after a year or two, I had a distinct feeling walking through some quarters of the city that I was in Srinagar.
No, it's a city of mosques. It's not anymore mandiron ki nagari.
So let me come to the next aspect of your book, and I quote from...
And Jammu has been surrounded from all sides.
Yeah.
Anna, so it can be laid siege to without any trouble.
So let me quote from page 79 of your book, and you made a similar point right now in your previous answer about the socio-economic profile of Shubham's family. So here you're talking about the socio-economic profile of Rasana residents, and you say, in sharp contrast to the Muslims in the Kashmir Valley or even those living in Jammu, most Hindu Dogras either fall in the category of poor working class or lower middle class with very modest means. In fact, most Gujars and Bakarwals are financially much better off than most Dogra families because of state patronage, lucrative sheep and cattle trade, and the smuggling of drugs and weapons from across the border. Why do you make this point about the socio-economic profile?
See, I took the trouble to get the occupational profile of all of the residents of Rasana village, so that it becomes obvious how vulnerable this group is. Nobody is well connected. They did not target any nephew of a minister or an IS officer. These are very poor people. For example, Vishan Das, retired soldier from the Indian Army. And you know how little soldiers are paid. Retired soldier. Shamlal, a clerk in J&K Secretariat. Then Hansraj.
And who are these people?
These are head of household of the 15 families. This is page 79. Then Hansraj, employed in a lowly post in Bashohi Dam. So not an officer level, but a very low position in a dam site. Ashok Kumar, father of Parvesh, one of those arrested. He is LPG of one son is employee in LPG gas supply company. And you know what kind of lowly jobs these are, carrying gas cylinders to people's homes, while the other was an assistant in a local shop, right? This is the kind of profile, that's economic profile. Kuldeep Kumar works in Mumbai as a factory hand. So it's labor class, okay? Then Shashi Kant, laborer in a Mumbai factory. Balbir Sharma, BSF Jawan. Jawan, not officer. Yashpal Sharma, he operates a load carrying auto rickshaw. So, auto rickshaw driver. Paras Ram works as a laborer. One son is a truck driver. And, that is the economic profile. Head of household, Dharampal, 10th household. He farms his small tract of land. And Jammu land, this Rasana village land, is not so highly productive. It's not as if it's growing almonds and all those high value crops like Kashmir Valley grows. Keval Krishna, who died some years ago, one of his sons, class 4 civilian employee in the military engineer service, class 4 employee. And the second working as a laborer in a factory. And sister is bedridden. There are a lot of these people who also have handicapped members or too ill, people who are, or widows who are without support. Pavan Kumar working in a Mumbai factory. Mohinder Sharma, unskilled laborer in Mumbai. Joginder Pal, truck driver. And Sanjhi Ram is the only one who had a half decent job as a patwari. And that too, he rose to the rank of a patwari at the end of his life. He retired as a patwari in irrigation department. An upright, honest person who made no extra money. And that is why at the time of his retirement, he had such pitiful amounts in his bank account. I published, as you know, the bank details of Sanjhi Ram and his wife. Pitiful amounts. And he doesn't even own a four-wheeler, not even a Maruti 800. An old two-wheeler scooter is all that the family owned. So clearly, this tells you that these are economically very vulnerable families, and they don't have any great support from the outside world. None of these were political activists or connected in any way to powerful networks anywhere, even in their own district.
My other question, the next question, is about the whole media drama that that surrounded this whole case when it first became national and international news, and they roped in cricket and Bollywood celebrities, and on page on page 391 you have put this screenshot from the Rising Kashmir, which talks about, I mean, the headline itself is quite revelatory in terms of how what kind of agenda was being peddled. And it says, "Together in temple, rape and rituals."
That's right. Shujat Bukhari.
This could easily be classified as hate speech.
This is not just a case of hate speech. This is systematic demonization campaign against the Hindu community and their faith traditions, so that when they're attacked, when they're incarcerated, when they are sentenced to life or given death sentence, nobody in the rest of the country will rise up in their defense. They knew that if they created this kind of a negative stereotyping of the community, most Hindus will not only be stunned into silence, but many like Barkha Dutt, Nidhi Razdan, or even in Aarti Tikku, Rahul Pandita, Shekhar Gupta, and the entire lot of folk journalists, that they will gladly make common cause with them. Partly because paid media of Delhi is already in their pockets. So they know they can put them into action anytime. They can put an Indira Jaising, Vrinda Grover into action within seconds. In the middle of the night, they will wake up judges of the Supreme Court to even defend known established terrorists. So in this case, they already had prepared the ground for that. And therefore, it's not just hate speech. Temple and rape and rituals in a temple, Hindu temple. This is not just him saying it. Thereafter, you remember all the film stars standing with those placards which were handwritten by the same people, because handwriting is very similar. The text is identical. So film stars, not just in Bollywood, but even in Tamil Nadu, in Tollywood, Hollywood, every which way, I am Hindustan. Mind you, not India. Deliberately, Hindustan. Then this kind of phrase, rape and rituals, or I'm ashamed that in a temple this happened. देवस्थान, देवस्थान का नाम लेके और फिर उस लड़की की फोटो दिखा के. See, as far as the media is concerned, my antenna was raised and I suspected foul play when I found that from day one, this paid media, the Lutyens cabal, began to tweet and publish articles using her proper name and a photograph in defiance of law. As you well know, not just the law in India, but in England, in America, most of the so-called civilized world, the law is very strict on this, that you cannot name and identify a rape victim. But in this case, they went out of their way to do that. And with a photograph. Now, it can't be that a Barkha Dutt or any of these worthies, Rajdeep Sardesai, Sagvika Ghosh, they can't claim that they didn't know about the law, that they were unaware of it. If they are tweeting furiously, writing these, heart-rending articles as though they are bleeding themselves, their heart is, bleeding over this atrocity on this hapless Muslim girl, then obviously there's something wrong. And then not just the Indian media, Indian TV channels, more importantly, BBC does the same, New York Times does the same, Washington Post does the same. When that entire echo chamber was created, global echo chamber was created within no time, then I knew at once that this is global mafia at work. This cannot be an ordinary case at all, because at the same time I checked out that as per the Delhi Commission of Child Rights, 6,000 kids disappear every year, including a large number of girls. I have never seen these people ever bother about any missing kid or any kidnapped girl, abducted girl. They've never bothered to find out whether those kids were ever recovered or even their dead bodies were recovered. Now, Kathua is what? 550 odd miles away from Delhi, and Jammu is 600 plus miles from Delhi. How is it that a place they'd never heard of, most of them could not have even known of the existence of Kathua district? It was a peaceful place. So it's not in headlines ever before this. Had you ever heard of Kathua?
I am from the States. So
no,
yeah.
But did you ever see news items about?
No, not at all.
Because it's a very low crime zone. All Hindu majority villages in Jammu province have negligible crime rate.
And that that completely answers my question about why you've so painstakingly documented the socio-economic profile of Rasana residents. Because to me, what is most enraging about this case is the asymmetry of power. That here you have celebrity journalists and the topmost names in the media industry all over the world, almost in unison, talking about something in an obscure corner of India, which no one had heard of before.
Yeah.
And you have these people who are basically laborers and rickshaw pullers and, of that profile, who have absolutely no voice.
No defense.
No defense whatsoever.
They can't even hire a good lawyer.
Yeah. And
whoever stood by them was demonized and defamed in such a callous manner. The person who first stood in their defense was the chairman of the Bar Association, the president of the Bar Association of Jammu High Court.
Yeah, we did
covered
cover.
Already.
We covered that, yeah.
Yeah.
What I want to get to now is this quote from page number 84, where you have spoken about how the case, how the Hindus of Kathua spontaneously joined protests over this murder.
Yeah.
And you say that in the beginning, everybody, Hindu or Muslim, joined together to demand justice for the Ghazwa victim. And then you record the statements of some women from Rasana, including Sanjhi Ram's family, and how they react to the news of the murder.
See, the difference is the Muslims were brought together as a mob to create a mob-like situation and block the national highway. The girl's body was taken, it was going home to the hospital where her postmortem was carried out, sent the body, as is the protocol, in an ambulance. They, with systematic prior planning, which is evident in the section 2, where they prior planned to stop the ambulance on the national highway. Talib Hussain announced it in his Facebook post, and then they bring it down and hold this entire area to ransom by blocking the traffic and saying, we will not get up till you arrest. They started demanding the arrest of Sanjhi Ram and Deepak Khajuria, this Talib Hussain guy, started targeting these two people right then and calling it rape and gang rape and murder and lot else, when the postmortem report had not yet been released. Of Rasana and neighboring villages joined spontaneously. They were actually crying. They couldn't believe it because they're not used to a little girl being taken and murdered, leave alone raped. And they didn't expect that they would be blamed for it. So very innocently, they came, they were crying. And Talib Hussain, in his interview to Barkhadat, admits that all these aunties or all these women were there and they were all crying. Now, if they had been guilty or had the slightest connection to it, why would they join? And they were very keen that justice be done. But then, when Talib Hussain began to lead very aggressive, violent mobs through Rasana village and that area, shouting pro-Pakistan slogans and anti-India, anti-BJP, anti-Modi. I mean, where did Modi at that time come in from? But they had started anti-Modi, anti-RSS, anti-BJP targeting and pro-Pakistan celebration right then. So clearly they needed the dead body of this girl to launch some kind of ethnic cleansing move in this area by spreading a reign of terror, which Mehbooba Mufti did very ably.
So tell us a little more about how Talib Hussain used social media, specifically Facebook, to build this whole fake narrative.
Okay. See, in this whole narrative, following things are very noteworthy. Number one, even before the postmortem report is out, Talib Hussain starts screaming rape. Not only rape, but also gang rape and targeting two specific individuals. And also, he starts targeting one or two specific politicians of BJP. We'll come to that in a minute. This, when the postmortem report itself does not corroborate the charge of rape, leave alone gang rape. No sperm found is written in bold letters, in capital letters, in one of the forensic lab reports. No spermatozoa found. So if no sperm found either on her body or in her clothes, then clearly rape charge is ruled out. But they went ahead and continued talking about it. Secondly, he alleged that the girl had been electrocuted and there were bite marks all over her body. Well, she was certainly not electrocuted because the post-mortem report does not mention electrocution at all, nor does it talk about bite marks on her body. So, post-mortem report also does not corroborate the charge sheet narrative about she being hit with a big stone by either Shubham or later on when the narrative changes to 7 other guilty, eight of them. Even that time, they're supposed to have alleged that they hit her with a stone on the final day of murder. And that stone had, the stone that they produced as so-called evidence had not a drop of blood on it. Also, there was not even a hairline fracture on her skull. That's what the postmortem report says. They alleged that she had been strangulated to death with her chunni, but in the postmortem report, there's no mention of any injuries on the neck. Strangulation marks would have been there had she been strangulated in the manner they said she was. And many other things that they alleged are not corroborated by the postmortem report. And yet, this Lutyens cabal, they spread this canard without reading the postmortem report, without reading the charge sheet, without seeing whether the two even matched each other. So obviously, clearly, somebody was spoon-feeding the narrative. Now, look at the way let me explain to you the way I tracked Talib Hussein's role. It's just chance. Because I didn't do any sting operations. I didn't try to dig out or imagine facts and then went and, cooked up evidence to put it together in any, no guesswork here. As chance would have it, one of my research assistants took me to the Facebook page of, firstly, we tried to get to the Facebook page of the self-professed brother of the girl from Kathua, namely Saddam Khan. Now, firstly, his Facebook page is not public. I also searched out the Facebook page of Talib Hussain to see what his role was, because he was the knight in shining armor. So I wanted to know how and when he started getting active. Now, what do I find? Number one, the girl disappears on January 10. There is no police report on that day. They keep quiet. The police FIR is registered only on January 12. There's no media report. They keep quiet, studiously keep quiet till her dead body is found, which means the family had a vested interest in her dead body. They didn't want her come back alive. Otherwise, why would they not have created ruckus? That very night, they could have gone to the police. When she didn't come back, they said, "Humne socha she would have been hit by horses and she must be lying in the forest." So we said, "We will see in the morning." In the morning, instead of searching for her, they go to Sanjhi Ram. He's sitting in the temple where he's supposed to have kept the girl. So by this time, the story of a murder and abduction, the story of her abduction and murder and gang rape has shifted to the mandir, the Baba Kalivir Devasthan. But, as I mentioned just now, one, the family kept quiet till her dead body was found. They made no noise about it. No protest demonstration, no newspaper reporting, no local TV channels. I mean, a girl disappearing in Jammu, Kathua district is not a small thing. Every TV channel would have gladly talked about it and sought the help of people in tracking the girl. Why did they all keep quiet? And even the police lookout notice appears on January 18, a day after her dead body is found, not before. Now, how did I track the activity of this family and establish the complicity of this family and complicity of Talib Hussain in the girl's disappearance and murder? Because there's no mention on the Facebook post of Saddam Khan on 10th or 11th or 12th. It's only on January 13 that the girl's picture, along with a small item about her disappearance, appears not on his own Facebook page, but on the Facebook page of a young man called Mir Alam, who became active on Facebook only since January 5, 2018, which means before that he was not. And this man is not from Kathua district. He's not a Bakarwal.
So Saddam Hussein is supposedly the girl's...
Saddam Khan is self-professed brother.
And he
doesn't.
And on January 14th, on January 14th, he's posing for a photograph with
a photograph of himself posing in a police uniform, which could well be a morphed picture, because, or he bought a police uniform to pretend he's a police guy, and he is in touch with all the anti-India secessionist forces.
And his supposed sister is missing for the last...
And he's enjoying the compliments he's getting. Oh, very handsome. He's not one bit mournful about the disappearance of his sister. On January 14 itself, Talib Hussain starts spreading hysteria that the girl has vanished. And please do something. Please make her photograph go viral. I have sent you the photograph. I've sent you the name of the father of that girl, and in solidarity, please do something, etc., etc. The brother is still unmoved. He's not raving and ranting about the disappearance of his sister. Then, other revelations from his Facebook page. It's interesting that he's telling Mir Alam, who's a PDP activist from South Kashmir, Mehbooba Mufti's own constituency, none else. None other than that. So there's a close link. Now, when they first post the picture of the girl's disappearance, and Talib Hussain starts bantering them to make it go viral and spread, certain kind of an emotional hysteria around it, he's saying, but there's no impact. Nobody's taking it seriously, which means they took it they took it as very normal. In sharp contrast to the women of Rasana and Kathua villages who were crying at the fact that a girl had vanished and then her dead body appeared. These guys are bantering each other. In fact, one of them says, even if you find her, I'm sure you won't return her. You will keep her. Ye bol rahe hain. They're actually making fun of it all. They're not one bit serious. और कोई emotional response तो है ही नहीं कि इसको कैसे ढूंढे, क्या करें. There's total indifference, and they're admitting to it. This person, Mir Alam, is himself admitting that Talib bhai कोई असर नहीं हो रहा. Nobody's really responding to it with any passion or fury. In fact, there is light-hearted banter.
It is interesting here where he says, Talib Hussain makes a comment on his post where he says, भाई आप बिल्कुल सही हैं. जब इस्लाम पूरी दुनिया के कोने कोने में फैलने लगा तो मुशरिकीन ने मुसलमानों की बच्चियों को अगवा करना शुरू किया.
नहीं सुनिए, यहाँ नहीं खत्म हो रहे बात. यहाँ नहीं खत्म हो रही बात. ये शुरू कर रहा है एक दिन पहले 16 तारीख को शुरू होता है ये hysteria building, okay, where he posts, and this post is very significant. It's a long letter. Till then, Talib Hussain is writing in Roman letters, but a crazy kind of a Hindi Urdu, whatever you call it. Wrong spelling. He cannot write two correct sentences in any language of the world. So it's very clumsy English, clumsy Roman
Urdu.
Yeah. Roman Urdu. Roman language में Urdu लिखी हुई है. Then suddenly on 16th, there is a long post of him. So through this time, he's building up hysteria a little bit, trying but not succeeding very well by comparing it to the rape and murder of a 7-year-old girl in Pakistan named Zainab. So they're constantly saying, I hope same thing has not happened to her. And he's starting already to blame BJP, RSS, Hindutvawadis for it. He starts hinting that they've done it. January 17, at 2:40 p.m., he uploads a video showing her dead body lying face down. And then after that, soon after, he posts a highly charged, long harangue announcing the venue and mode of the protest demonstration while hinting that he may be arrested, which also is a drama. And for the first time, he is writing something in English. It's not great English, but it's far better than anything he's capable of writing. So obviously somebody has given him this post. And at 3:40 p.m., this is what he says. Greeting friends karke. He says girl's body found. And he also reveals himself the fact that on the previous night he had talked to the SSP Kathua, namely Suleiman Chowdhury, okay, and asked him about the status. So one night before, he's in touch with the SSP. And that is the night, actually, as you well know, the girl's body was dumped. There were testimonies of the villagers that on 16th night they heard a motorbike, Royal Enfield type motorbike, which nobody in their village had, come in, go into the forest, then return in about 20 minutes. So that's the night the girl's body has been dumped. So they are expecting it to be discovered the next morning. And Suleiman Chowdhury states that he will check the status, and today morning itself, the body was found lying in the jungle. And bite marks on her whole body, electrocution via electricity wire, and child's death occurred between 72 hours to 24 hours before her dead body was found. The interesting thing is that he is now alleging that since Islam has started spreading globally, therefore the Hindus are getting worried and turning against the Muslim community with a vengeance, and that they are planning a demographic invasion and trying to bring about ethnic cleansing of Muslims from Jammu province.
No, but this raises an important question which I wanted to ask you, and that is that you mentioned that Chaudhry Lal Singh and Mr. Slatia, they floated a new political party.
No, I did not say Lal Singh and Slatia. A new political platform came into existence, namely Hindu Ekta Manch, because Hindus felt very unprotected since no party was standing up for them. Slatia was acting as the president of the Bar Association.
And just to interrupt, was this Hindu Ekta Manch the platform that then transformed into the Ekjut Jammu?
No.
No. Okay.
No, you cannot say how many people from that went to, but
was the next logical step?
No,
wasn't it?
I'm saying Hindu Ekta Manch was a very spontaneous upsurge, and people who within the BJP, in fact, not just Chaudhry Lal Singh, but few other leaders also, who were asked by the BJP to go and manage this upsurge. So they went at the behest of BJP leaders in Jammu, who told them कि हिंदुओं में बहुत रोष है, please go and attend this rally, Hindu Ekta Manch rally, which had several thousand people, all very agitated at the reign of terror unleashed by Mehbooba Mufti. So soon after that, Mehbooba Mufti starts baying for their blood, the two ministers in particular. And since Chaudhry Lal Singh was already on the hit list of Talib Hussain, which means hit list of Mehbooba Mufti, because he was the forest minister. And as forest minister, he had started taking some action against illegal encroachments in the forest. I did a long interview with him where he described all that he had started doing, and therefore she wanted to get rid of him. In any case, Islamists are not used to power sharing. So an important portfolio like the forests, especially after the Roshni Act, which had given a free invitation to Muslims to come and occupy forest land, public land, any land, and the government would welcome it. So here is a forest minister who starts putting spokes in a wheel, so she wanted him out. And so he became the prime target. And he set up then his own Swabhiman Manch, even the rallies he organized, he's a leader with good amount of mass support, at least in his own constituency, and he wins elections on his own strength. Even MP elections he has won. So the rally that concluded from Kathua district to Jammu, led by Lal Singh, had about 50,000 people by the time it reached Jammu Satwari Chowk. And people walked he himself walked barefoot for a good part of that journey in that hot summer month, because there was real anger in Jammu. And the Bar Association, as I mentioned last time, had given a call for Jammu Bandh. They went on strike. And because they were protesting, demanding CBI probe, whether it's Swabhiman rally or Hindu Ekta Manch or the Bar Association of Jammu and Kashmir, their only one demand was CBI probe. They're not saying spare the rapists. Now, the point is that the Supreme Court acted very foul. It sent the Bar Council delegation to Jammu to go and communicate in very strong terms to the Jammu and Kashmir, the Jammu High Court Bar Association, that if they don't stop protesting, their practicing licenses would be taken away from them for life. And Slathia, a very respected figure, cutting across party lines. He was a veteran congressman, very respected. Even BJP people, ordinary Jammuites, people respect him no matter which party they belong to. He was so defamed by the likes of Barkha Dutt and Nidhi Razdans and the rest of them, calling him a rapist defender, that he actually, I don't think, ever recovered from the shock. And the Congress party asked him to shut down. He chose to resign from the Congress party, despite having spent his entire life serving the party in Jammu. And the High Court, the Bar Council of India delegation went and communicated this message. They didn't go there to listen to the Jammu people or the Bar Association members as to why they were protesting with such fury. They went to only intimidate them. And that's how the 12-day long strike by the Jammu Bar Association came to an end.
So I want to talk about this from page 113 of your book, where you're talking about the suspension of the station house officer Suresh P. Gautam of Hiranagar Police Station. To begin with, at the behest of, and this is the quote from the book, page 113. So this is the opening paragraph of the chapter, of the 5th chapter.
Okay.
The quick succession with which the Ghazwa victim cases investigation changed hands tells its own story. To begin with, at the behest of Ghazwa victims' self-proclaimed father Muhammad Yusuf, on January 12, 2018, Station House Officer Suresh P. Gautam of Hiranagar Police Station registered the complaint regarding Ghazwa victim having gone missing. This was done under the Ranbir Penal Code, etc., etc. But from day one, Gautam began getting suggestions and leads as to whom to summon, whom to question, whom to detain, and how to manage the investigation. It seems he was not pliable enough. Therefore, in less than a week, he was suspended. Was he really suspended, or was he transferred?
Suspended.
He was suspended. On what grounds?
कोई देने की जरूरत थोड़ी होती है. I mean, if you're a Mehbooba Mufti as Home Minister and Chief Minister combined, so who knows did she need to explain to anyone? No, she was ordering even her alliance partner, namely the BJP, what to do, what not to do, what to think, what not to think. And then, as you know, a special investigation team is set up on January 18th, headed by Samba ASP Adil Hamid Ganai. This is also disbanded within days, even before it settled down to work. On January 22nd, which means January 18 and 22nd, के बीच में 3-4 दिन भी नहीं है, she transferred the case to the crime branch, police headquarter, order number so and so, and which clearly shows that the people associated with the first SIT, namely this January 18 SIT, had no role in the actual investigation of the crime because they got no time for it. And yet, people associated with the first SIT, namely a head constable and an inspector, was implicated in the murder and gang rape case by saying they helped destroy evidence. But they had no role in it. They were eased out in no time. So then third development is the setting up of a second SIT. And that second SIT has as its head, firstly, it defied established protocol by bringing in Kashmir officers. I mean, this is a Jammu case, Kathua case. So Jammu province ka koi hona chahiye tha? No, she brings in people from the Kashmir crime branch, and bypassing seniority, she appointed ASP Naveed Pirzada to head it. And he was, again, a favorite of hers. He had been in charge of her personal security, etc. Again, DSP Shwetambari Sharma, who again played a very disgraceful role. She tortured people to give false testimony, had no experience of criminal investigations, and acted as a rubber stamp. But rubber stamps are not so venal because she actually tortured innocent people into giving false testimonies. The most important is the appointment of tainted sub-inspector Urfan Wani. He had spent 10-11 years or close to 12 years in jail, and on charges as serious as, firstly, murdering an innocent young Hindu man while in his custody. Then when his family came to protest, this Hindu man, Rishi, he kept his sister back in the thana, and for 6-7 days he raped her in the thana. And he was suspended. A case was lodged against him. He remained suspended for 11-12 years. She reinstates him soon after getting him acquitted on May 11, 2017. She first ensures, because she's now influential enough to ensure that, and then she makes him join this team, Urfan Wani, who admits in interviews how he hated Hindus and how they had ruined his career. Why? Because they complained against the murder and rape of Hindu girl. They shouldn't have done it because, after all, if he's an Islamist, why should Hindus be even protesting? So all this she does with the willful cooperation of, say, DGP SP Vaid. He could have put his foot down, but he didn't. Senior IPS officer Alok Puri, he also became a willing collaborator and was handsomely rewarded. Then so many others, diehard Islamist Javed Mushtaba, appointed IG crime branch. So she used Hindus, senior as well as mid-level Hindu police officers, with absolute elan. She made them do her bidding, and they succumbed like dhimmis, and brought in for so-called investigation and garnering evidence. She brought in team from Kashmir of her loyalists. तो क्या कहेंगे आप ऐसी investigation?
Is that the reason why there is such a huge difference between the first post-mortem report and the second?
No, there isn't such a huge difference. The only thing is there are discrepancies.
Okay.
In one, the injuries are 7, in the other 8.
That's
And, whether she had an empty stomach or she had undigested food in the intestines, those kind of differences. But both are clear. No injury on the skull, no injury to her internal organs, which would establish rape.
So how was rape established then? I mean,
Just by alleging. Just by alleging. And then if you have willing paid media in Delhi to broadcast that lie with elan, with utter total conviction. So they know that these are tried and tested allies. You see, they did that with Gujarat riots. They did that in the case of Hindu terror theory, that fake Hindu terror theory that they floated. The same Lutyens cabal had done that. They did that in the case of Maya Kodnani, again, totally innocent person who had no role in the riots, totally innocent, and had served the Muslim community as a medical practitioner with utter dedication. She was taken to the gallows almost. She's only now acquitted, you know. So I'd investigated that case also, the fake narrative against that case. And all that I said proved right. She has been now acquitted. But the evidence was as strong in favor of Maya Kodnani as is the evidence in this case.
due to the changes, this continuous taking away and bringing in new people and manipulating them and trying to influence them in a certain direction, is that the reason why, as you mentioned in chapter 24 of your book, crucial witnesses dropped and fake witnesses propped up? So, and I'll quote you, that when assessing the preposterous narrative sans evidence presented by the crime branch of J&K police in the Ghazwa victim case, the judge seems to have remained blissfully indifferent to the failure of the prosecution in fulfilling the three requirements that you mentioned before here: proof beyond reasonable doubt, preponderance of evidence, and clear and convincing evidence, which are the three primary standards of proof. And you say that in contrast, credible evidence presented by the defense in favor of the accused was treated with utmost derision.
Yeah. Firstly, the charge that Sanjhi Ram bribed the policeman in order to save his son. They could never prove the money trail, and the judge admits it, that the money trail was never established. And in criminal law, if the money trail is not established, then the case gets dropped. It's assumed that the case has not been, the allegation has not been proved beyond reasonable doubt. You know, criminal cases, the evidence has to be strong. And here there was no evidence. Then Tripta Devi, the mother of Shubham, who was the first one to be arrested. Now, she's a crucial witness because they made such horrible charges against her. What she is supposed to have done, she's supposed to have bribed policemen on behalf of her brother. Poor woman. And they said, oh, wo uska dost tha, policeman. Can you imagine a village, a Jammu village woman who's hardly ever stepped out of her house? She's not even educated in the sense that she can't read and write properly. They said, वो नर्सरी में उसके स्कूल में था, प्राइमरी स्कूल में उसके साथ था, इसलिए उसकी दोस्ती थी. And therefore she went and bribed this policeman, head constable Hansraj. And all kinds of incriminating statements against her own son were attributed to her. That should have been brought to the attention of the court. She should have been examined. Then she would have told them that these were not her testimonies, that she was made to sign on blank papers. Usko chhod diya. Then also testimony of Rasana residents who witnessed the coming of the motorbike that night, and the transformer collapsed that night. Suddenly there was a blackout at 10 p.m. Many houses, their electrical equipment like refrigerators or whatever they have actually collapsed because of that sudden breakdown. They were not brought in. They had a lot to say about what happened that particular night when the body was dropped there. Most importantly, the last seen witness, they said, was Veena Devi, who's the last one to have seen. In criminal cases, the last seen witness has special importance. Whoever's seen the person who died or was murdered last. She was dropped, and a fake witness brought in named
Sakina
Sakina
Bibi.
Bibi. Now, Sakina Bibi, the story she tells is so bizarre. She says that she saw this girl from Kathua, who's supposed to be a relative of hers, in the forest roaming around with these two boys. So, from Shubham as lone murderer and rapist, we already have the story of a gang of 8 having planned and executed the gang rape and murder of this girl. And she says on 10th January, she saw this girl, little girl, looking for horses in the company of these two boys, Shubham and Manu. The fact of the matter is that if she saw on that day and the girl asked her about her horses and she says, I don't know, she didn't stop her from gallivanting in the forest with these two young boys. Can you imagine a Muslim family allowing their girl to roam around the forest alone with two Hindu boys? I mean, ऐसे छोटी छोटी बात पे सर तन से जुदा करते हैं. तो उसको कुछ नहीं कहा. She doesn't stop her. And she says then they went together in the direction of the Devasthan, where it was alleged that the girl was kept captive and murdered. And she says that that very night, she told this girl's family, the self-proclaimed fake family, that she had seen this girl in the company of these two boys. If she indeed had seen the girl in the company of these two boys, then why is it that they did not go and confront the family of these two boys and says, where's the girl? She's missing. Why has she not come back? Not only that, in the morning they go and meet Sanjhi Ram in the temple. And yet they don't say, but our girl was seen in the company of your son and another person of your village. None of that. परवेश और शुभम के साथ अगर घूम रही थी तो क्यों नहीं बताया? फिर FIR में, पुलिस कंप्लेंट में, why did the family not name these two boys as being the persons in whose company she was seen last on January 10? Nothing. Suddenly, months later, this woman is propped up and totally fake testimony is taken as very serious account. More importantly, there is one of their own, which is Dog Squad ka jo head, Girdhari Lal. His testimony is very important because A, he was brought in much after the body had already been lifted. If you want the dog squad to actually perform, you have to make sure that the body is still lying there. The scene of crime is untouched. He has given his testimony that when he was told on 17th that, but it was only in the evening he was told, whereas the body had been removed in the morning itself. Postmortem had already been conducted. And that day he could not even reach because of this dharna by Talib Hussain and company having collected a mob on the national highway. So he couldn't reach. So next day he comes in, which is 24 hours later or whatever. And the police says, go with your dog squad. He says, but it's too long after. How will I get any scent? You've removed the body. So whose scent will the dog take in order to find out if there's anybody around who murdered her? They says, no, never mind, you go there. He goes to the scene and he says, but there's not a drop of blood here. And you say, this is the scene of murder. I don't see any blood. So what will the dog smell? Not only that, even that stone, alleged stone, had not a drop of blood. There was no other evidence in that forest where they took this dog squad that he could say is reliable. Then he said, what about her clothes? The policemen were carrying the clothes in their arms. And they had not put them initially in any sealed bag, which means he clearly understood that the body scent had been tampered with very deliberately. First, by her own father, his lap, covered with a shawl. The police did not take charge of the body, did not protect the evidence that you're supposed to by not letting the evidence be contaminated by all kinds of people touching the body. Her clothes were not kept safe. And then they cooked up the cock and bull story that this particular policeman, he washed her clothes. So how did they reach him? As I said, he was not even part of the second SIT. So कैसे पहुंचे? इन्होंने तो इन्वेस्टिगेशन भी नहीं शुरू की थी. तो उस डॉग स्क्वाड वाले ने कहा, it was clear that they did not want me to get any forensic evidence. And the dog refused to. He just sat wagging his tail. They insisted he go. He went around for a few minutes, came back and sat under a tree because there was no evidence left, no scent left for the dog to act upon. He was also dropped as a witness, though his testimony is part of the police record. So all of these, and then they bring in all kinds of fake witnesses who says Akhtar Hussain and others who say, we saw Vishal Jangotra while he was actually in Muzaffarnagar appearing for his exam. He said, I saw him near the gas agency. I saw, so-and-so says, I saw him doing this, that or the other. So fake witnesses were brought in. Lot of genuine witnesses were dropped very systematically. Not one, but many. And I have quoted a few of the genuine witnesses whose testimonies are still in the police record, but never became part of the investigation by the court of the evidence at hand. So the judge was doing a hatchet job. And as you know, the judge was later put under investigation of the Jammu and High Court. Judge Tejwinder Singh, who did a hatchet job, command performance in incarcerating these people and declaring them guilty against evidence to the contrary, was put under investigation on corruption charges by the High Court of Haryana and Punjab. So on the one hand, there's not a shred of evidence to connect any of the 8 accused to this crime. On the other hand, there's a mountain of evidence to show that the whole case is fabricated, especially after Vishal Jangotra had to be acquitted because of CCTV footage showing him in Muzaffarnagar near Meerut in UP, far away from Rasana village during that period. So once he is acquitted, then it's clear that the police had roped in him on malicious charges, fake charges. And all those witnesses also had been coerced and tortured against him. They went to lodge a complaint in court actually against SIT officials who had tortured them. There's a case in Kathua court by these 3 young men who were tortured. So once the case collapses due to the acquittal of Vishal Jangotra, who's supposed to be one of the key players in the rape and murder saga, then there should have been, properly speaking, a fresh investigation ordered by the Pathankot judge. Instead, he did very willingly a hatchet job and convicted the 7 remaining accused while very reluctantly acquitting Vishal Jangotra. Now, the reason I say that he did a hit job without application of mind, A, because his judgment is as outrageous and absurd and callous as is the charge sheet. The charge sheet itself is mumbo-jumbo nonsensical. If anybody had applied their mind to the charge sheet, they would have known this is a fake case. The judgment is even more outrageous, no less, because he does not take into account the mountain of evidence that declares innocence of these people and complicity of the police in faking up the case without evidence. The evidence they present is nonsensical, including, Shwetambari Sharma and all. Did I tell you? She went around collecting shit samples from behind the Rasana village. Whose shit? Animal shit, dog shit, human shit. Can you imagine a month after? A month after she goes to Rasana village and says, I've come to collect evidence from the mandir. And she says she found 5 strands of hair.
Wow.
5 strands of hair, 1 month after. The mandir is cleaned and dusted every day, pocha hota hai, sab kuch hota hai. Not only that, when the evidence reached court, even that strand of hair had vanished. The alleged strand of hair, which supposed to have matched Asifa's hair, but he never asked why is it that it has vanished? Did you do a DNA test to ensure that it is her hair? Actually, none of that. So that is the kind of evidence they presented to say and assert that she was kept in the temple. But they did not take the daris with which she was covered with. They should have confiscated them right away and seen whether they carried any forensic evidence of her having been brought to the mandir. None of that. So there's zero evidence to implicate any of these 8 persons. There's a mountain of evidence to indicate that they were getting false case cooked up on the dictates of Mehbooba Mufti. And the judge accepts it gladly, and he treats all the genuine witnesses with utter disdain. The questions he asks are so absurd that you know, honestly, in any civilized judicial system, such a man would not be even a peon in any court of law. He's that arrogant, stupid, and callous, and doesn't apply his legal mind at all to examine the evidence. So it's clear that he was delivering a politically manipulated verdict. And the fact that he is not a reliable judge is evident from the fact that within a few months of the verdict he delivered in June 2019, the Punjab and Haryana High Court began to investigate him for gross corruption charges and misdemeanors unbecoming of a judge. This is very polite language, but tells you it's serious. And his chances of ever being elevated to the High Court were put to rest. He was trying very hard to become a High Court judge. In addition, this judge, among other glorious things he did, the High Court of Punjab and Haryana also passed very severe strictures in another case against him, which is as bizarre as the rest of his judgment. Very typical. When he was appointed as a judge through this selection process, which involves an examination, as you know, judicial service exam, 7 years after his appointment, he questioned his seniority, which is dependent on the marks you get in the exam. He said that his marks in the criminal law paper were wrongly, he was marked wrongly, undermarked in the criminal law paper, so that should be re-examined and his seniority should be re-established. Now, 7 years later, and as you well know, Punjab has one of the most corrupt bureaucracies. So the Public Service Commission of Punjab even agreed. So probably he had fixed already, it was a fixed match in advance. So they said, yes, we will get it re-examined, and they assigned him a new seniority. So obviously others who were affected by it went to court. And the High Court of Punjab and Haryana examined it. And they passed very severe strictures saying, this is really foul play, you know, and he's playing foul with the whole judicial system by challenging his seniority 7 years later and then acting in this manner, which involved criminal activity to get your marks changed through match fixing.
Clearly a very, very dishonest man.
Yeah, and it's a very strong judgment against him. And yet he stayed put. He should have been fired right then. You're tampering with old record. You're lying, you're cheating, and you're cheating your brother judges.
Right.
You know, you're impacting their careers. So he got away with that and he must have been heavily rewarded for this, in order for the Punjab and Haryana High Court to start an investigation independent of this case. It's not because of this case, but which means that overall track record is that of a very, very corrupt and a dubious judge.
So, Madhuji, we've covered many specific points, and just like your book ends with chapter number 32, titled Tragic Consequences of Hindu Dhimitude. So, I would like you to comment on this aspect of sort of give us a bird's eye view of or what you think is the future of Hindus in this country, because there's no other country anyway for Hindus. But even here, and I quote from your book, and this is a very, very pertinent point that you make towards the end, that the Ghazwa victim case is yet another wake-up call for those who think that we live in a constitutional democracy, that India's courts of law are meant to provide justice to the wronged, that the purpose of the mighty Indian police service is to catch criminals and have them punished by the judiciary, and that our elected representatives are meant to stand guard as a protective wall between law-abiding citizens and wrongdoers in society. And I continue, it is time we faced the fact that the Indian state is held hostage by Islamic imperialists who have perfected the art of subverting and overtaking countries that take pride in their democratic setup in order to turn every Darul Harb into a Darul Islam. These are very, very strong comments, and I would like you to conclude this interview with this very wide perspective of where we are headed as a society, as a country, and how does this case, what kind of insights and what learning and what wisdom can we acquire from this, other than the fact that, of course, we need to get our act together and save these innocent lives.
Yeah, I think saving these innocent lives is very important. So is getting the real killers of the girl punished. And I say it with total confidence. If you want to get at the real killers, start investigating Mehbooba Mufti's role, start investigating Talib Hussain, and start investigating the parents' role, the self-proclaimed fake parents of the girl from Kathua. They know who the real killers are, and they need to be investigated. And they know why they got the girl killed. As far as the tragic consequences of Hindu dhimitude, I also name all the Hindus who could have reversed this easily. The PMO could have reversed it by agreeing to a CBI probe and ensuring that the CBI, or better still, the NIA, did a good job of unraveling the truth. It could have been unraveled easily. What took me years to unravel, they could have done it in 10 days because the lies were so blatant. That's one. Secondly, I think it's time we understood that India is truly a failed state. I feel sorry for all those who keep on thumping their chests and, yelling and screaming at Pakistan, laughing at Pakistan, ridiculing it as a failed state. But Pakistan was not meant to be a nation state. Islam doesn't believe in nation states. It was set up as a launch pad for the spread of Islam in the entire subcontinent and globally. So Pakistan is supplying the most deadly terrorists and supporters to the entire globe today. Even England, America, it's the Pakistanis who are leading the mission of Dar al-Islam, converting the entire world into Dar al-Islam. So Pakistan and its agenda is so successful from day one. From the time that Article 370 was introduced, it's Pakistan who ensured that. Why would India have Article 370 and allow an Islamic state on the secular soil of India? Or banishment of Maharaja Hari Singh from his own state at the behest of Abdullah, the Islamist Abdullah, who wanted to have an Islamic state in J&K, Muslim majority, tyrannical rule that he established. So from then to the murder of Shama Prasad Mukherjee in a J&K, in a Kashmir jail, the entire lot of events and lot else coming down to this established very clearly that none of our institutions of this great democracy are functional in order to protect honest, law-abiding citizens, certainly not Hindus. They are acting actively against Hindus, not just in this case, but even when there's a terror attack by Pakistan on our parliament, or in Bombay, they float the Hindu terror bogey. And the best of our media, the most prominent celebrity journalists, start mouthing Hindu terror theory. In this case, Mehbooba Mufti used the agencies of the state, namely the police, namely the judiciary, namely the Indian media, national media, namely the Prime Minister's office, namely the entire political apparatus of the BJP to crush even those voices within BJP who were demanding a CBI probe and wanted justice for Hindus. The way out is firstly to recognize that the police will not come to your help, that they will tyrannize you, that the law courts are certainly not going to stand up for you, except in very rare instances where some miraculous power ensures that an honest judge is sitting there and some lawyers take up their job seriously. But those are exceptions. Law courts are overall not protecting us. The political parties are not protecting us. Every single political party in India crushed and ridiculed the Hindus of Jammu. They did not stand by them. And their very modest demand of a CBI probe.
If I may use an analogy, I think a lot of Indians, a lot of Hindus, especially of the right of center types, they judge the success or failure of Pakistan in the same sense that you would judge the winner of a football match by employing rules of cricket. Right? Because Pakistan is built in a different fashion for a different purpose altogether, not to be a democracy or a...
Not to be a nation state. Right. Firstly, nation state is an anathema to Muslims, to Islamists. They don't believe in it. They didn't set it up for that purpose. They made it very clear that this was a launch pad for spread of Islam, which is why those Muslims who voted for Pakistan from UP and Bihar never went there. They stayed here, and their agenda was to create many, many, many Pakistans within India. They're succeeding exceedingly well with the help of the Indian state, including the illegal migrants who get their identity card made, who get all kinds of facilities from the Indian state and special treatment. If Muslims after partition can claim and get special treatment, be first-class citizens, and we are not even fourth class, because even fourth-class citizens ought to be given some security of life at least. We don't even have that. So we better accept that we are an endangered species. If you don't wake up, the game is over. But I'm sure that given a new awakening, if we stand up to their lies and their deceit, and the Western world is also waking up to the dangers of Islam, some parts at least. Many have fallen, many of their democratic institutions have fallen, but I don't think they will allow themselves to become Darul Islams with as much ease as the Indian state has allowed so many Darul Islams within the secular soil of India. So let's hope, see, we have the truth on our side, and Islam dies if it does not lie. All we have to do is to be ruthless in holding a mirror to Islam through meticulous documentation of facts, not just emote, but actually in each case bring evidence and hold a mirror to them, awaken our own people in the way that the Kerala story is doing, and do it for a whole range of cases. And secondly, stop depending on the Indian state. We have to be prepared to defend ourselves through community organization. There is no other option for us. If we don't do that, the game is over. But I'm sure we are not that stupid, because for hundreds of years, Hindustan actually fought back. And those memories are part of our DNA. So we better honor the memories and the sacrifices made by our ancestors in not accepting Islam, no matter how much tyranny they had to face, in staying steadfast with Hindu Dharma and saving whatever little they could of Hindu civilization. We owe it to our ancestors and to our future generations.
So in short, getting our act together.
Getting our act.
And what better way to get your act together than writing a brilliant piece of investigation and truth-telling, if I may say so.
Truth-telling. And make sure it reaches people.
Yeah.
They are doing their best to stop its or to curb its reach. Please help it reach people, especially influential people.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madhu Kishwar ji. Thank you for coming again on our show. And good luck with your future projects.
No, they're going to be our future projects.
Absolutely.
And this is not just Madhu Kishwar's project. You've been at it for so long. We just have to now gang up. Good people rarely gang up.
Yeah.
The evil ones do fast. So it's time for the good people to gang up too. Thank you. Thank you very much for your support.